Mathematicians. As we move into our third week of doing our online school and our online learning together, I hope everything is going well for you. Please continue to reach out if you have questions or concerns. I know Schoology is still having some issues occasionally. One hint I have for you is if you kind of first thing in the morning or whenever you get up and get started, if Schoology is working, if you go ahead and open all the assignments you plan to work on that day, that'll actually copy them into your Google Drive. And then if Schoology has an issue later, you can still go into Google Drive and access those assignments. So that might be a little trick to try if you keep noticing that you're running into some issues with Schoology. If you then have already done that and have trouble accessing it through Google Drive, send me an email. I'm finding that email's working a lot better because if you send me a Schoology message and then Schoology isn't working, I can't get back to you. So if you could stick to email, that would be the best way to communicate. This week, a couple things. I will be offering virtual office hours on Tuesday and Thursday at 1:30. Those are optional, but you can access them through the Schoology conference. And then this Friday, we don't have school. So make sure to take the day off, enjoy some time with your family. Hopefully it'll be a nice day and we can all get some fresh air. So we've been working on probability, and last week you practiced probability models. So if we were in front of each other right now and I could ask you a question and you could respond, I would say, how many parts does every probability model have? Hopefully you just out loud told me there are 3 parts to every probability model. They have an action, a sample space, and then you list the probabilities for each of the outcomes. This week, you're going to spend some time performing some different experiments. For today's, you're going to be flipping a coin and rolling a dice. If you do not have a coin at your house, that's fine. There are some online coins we can use. They're linked in the document. And then I did link also an online dice. If you prefer to roll a real dice, you have one in a board game laying around, by all means grab one. You don't have to use the digital versions, but I also know that some people may not have a dice that they can find quickly. So just so you know, those are some materials. If you know you have them, go ahead and grab them before you get started today. If not, they're linked in the document. So 2 things we're going to talk about real quick. There are 2 types of probabilities. These are all defined in some notes on the document, but I want to make sure to kind of talk you through it a little bit too. Theoretical probability is what we expect to happen. So when I flip a coin, there are 2 sides to the coin, so there's 2 outcomes. I expect it to land on heads half the time and tails half of the time. That's kind of, I always say, like, that's in a perfect world, what would happen. When you think about, you have a dice that has 6 sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When you roll it, you would expect it to land on 1/6 of the time. You would expect it to land on the number 2, 1/6 of the time. Does that make sense? Each of the faces of your die, you expect to have an equal probability. That's what we call our theoretical. Experimental probability is a little different because it's what we observe happen, okay? Even though we expect a coin to land on heads half the time and tails half the time, that doesn't always work out perfectly in an experiment. I might flip a coin 2 times and both times it lands on heads. Now that does not mean that every time I flip a coin, it will land on heads, okay? So these are a little bit different. And they have different purposes. So today you're going to practice that a little bit where you're going to come up with, okay, what do I expect to happen before I flip this coin, before I roll this dice? What do I expect to see happen? Then after you've made kind of your predictions, your what I expect, then you're going to actually do it. You're going to flip the coin, you're going to record it in a chart, and then you're going to compare them. When you are flipping a coin, I don't have a coin here with me because I didn't want to be chasing it all over and trying to flip it in front of you, but picture I'm flipping a coin, okay? When it lands, I'm simply going to tally, okay? So it lands on heads, then heads again, then tails, then heads, then tails, and so on, Okay, I'm going to use that space as a tally. You might want to have a piece of paper next to you, just a scrap piece of paper as you do this, to just quickly tally it. And then you can enter it into the Google Doc as a number. So then I might enter into my Google Doc, okay, I flipped heads 3 times and I flipped tails 2 times. Remember, when we are writing probabilities, so I would write the probability of landing on heads in this way. And then I would give my equal sign. And then it's 2 different things. If I'm putting my theoretical probability, I would say that's 1/2. From my made up experiment right here, I would say the probability of landing on heads, my experimental probability, what I observed happen, I landed on heads 3 times out of the 5 that I flipped my coin. So do you see the difference between the two? Theoretical is what we expect to happen, that in a perfect world, it should work this way. My experimental is, what did I actually see happen? Sometimes your experimental probability ends up being perfect, and it is exactly like your theoretical. That typically, the more times you do something, the closer your experimental probability gets to your theoretical. So if I only flip a coin twice, it might be completely different. It might be 100% heads, 0% tails. If I flip a coin 4 times or 10 times, I'm probably going to get a lot closer to that half and half. If I flip it 100 times or 1,000 times. Now, please know, I'm not asking you at any point to flip a coin thousands of times. So when we do little snapshots and we do 10 trials or we do 20 trials, please know that these two, the theoretical and the experimental, could be further apart. And then as you would do more and more trials, they should get closer together. This is why when you think about like big companies or someone that they're trying to collect data on a certain product, they're going to test it out many, many, many times before they know it's reliable. They don't want to give you, oh, we ran it once and it worked, so I'm sure it's great all the time. They want to make sure they try it over and over and over again so that what happens is a lot closer to what they expected to happen. So as you work through this today, you've got 2 different experiments you're going to run. Your next activity, you're going to have some different experiments. We've got some cool digital spinners and some different things for you to explore. But today, if you do have a coin or a coin and a dice, that'll kind of help just to have those in front of you. And let me know as you have questions. You guys are doing a great job. Make sure when you finish your assignment that you hit submit. I see a lot of you like almost finish an assignment, but then you never hit submit. So I can't give you a score. So if you could do that, that would be helpful. I'm checking every day for past assignments that have been turned in late, even though they're being marked as incomplete. I'm not taking off any points. It's just a way for me to keep track of who's got theirs in and who I still need to check on. But let me know if there's anything at all you need. You guys seem to be doing a great job with all of this. I appreciate your hard work. Please keep making time for Mathia. I'm going to be posting some kind of challenges and some goals that we want to try and meet as a class in Mathia. So keep that in mind. Mathia is there. I still expect you to be working on that. You should still be working about 15 to 20 minutes a day and finishing about 2.5 workspaces every week. That expectation remains. Some of you have done a great job with that and even surpassed it. Some of you haven't logged on to Mathia since we've been at home. So that's something that I will be following up with individual people on, but you can avoid that follow-up with me if you log in and do some practice on Mathia. I hope you have a great day. I miss you all, and hopefully we'll see each other soon.